Soccer is the subject on today's SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Friday, June 25th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Sporting Kansas City continues its climb up the MLS Western Conference standing. They defeated the Colorado Rapids 3-1 on Wednesday, and Daniel Salloi, I know we've talked a lot about him on this show, but it's unavoidable. He was sensational once again. 2 goals and an assist in a game in what probably stands among his top performances in a Sporting jersey. About that assist, it was pretty cool to see Felipe Hernandez score his first MLS goal. Earlier that day, KC NWSL gave the fans at Legends Field something to cheer about. They scored their first home goal and took the lead in first half stoppage time against Orlando, but the game was tied before the break and Orlando went on to win 3-1. We discussed both games and both teams on today's show with the familiar voice of Shaun Goodwin and a couple of new ones. Cora and Briar Napier are interning at the Star this summer. They grew up fans of the sport and have been regularly involved in the coverage. So let's get started with our foursome talking soccer. And, since it's the knockout round of the Euro 2020, we'll have some picks at the end of the show. The purpose of today's podcast is twofold. One, we're going to talk about soccer in Kansas City, as we do every week with Shaun Goodwin. Shaun, how are you?
After yesterday's doubleheader, a little bit tired. It took a toll on me, but I'm here. I'm awake.
Yeah, you're awake.
I'm ready to talk soccer, so I can't complain.
You're semi-coherent, too. That's always a good thing.
I'm always semi-coherent. It's the accent.
But the more important purpose today is to introduce a couple of reporters for the Kansas City Star who are here for the summer, covering many, many things, including soccer. And what I think is really cool is they're very interested in soccer. And that's not always the case with interns, but it is absolutely the case with Cora and Briar Napier. Cora, let's start with you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and exactly where Ferris State is.
Yeah, my name is Cora Hall. I just graduated from Ferris State University in Michigan. It's about an hour north of Grand Rapids. It's a pretty small town. I played soccer my whole life since I was 4, and it was just a love of mine since then, and it's kind of bled into now my journalism and especially women's soccer.
That's really cool. I know that you've been to a couple of the KC NWSL games, and we're going to talk about the WOSOs today as well. You grew up playing soccer, so position all over the place, or did you have a position?
Yeah, I was a little bit all over the place growing up, and then once I got to high school, I really settled in at goalkeeper, and I do miss it sometimes, especially when I go to practices for WOSO, and I'm like watching them train. I was like, I miss that.
Depth of knowledge of soccer from playing. That's great. All right, Briar, you're somewhat familiar with not only the area, but soccer in the area as well. You really know Sporting very well. Tell us your background and when did you start covering Sporting?
Hello, I'm Briar Napier. I am originally from Southern Illinois, central Southern Illinois near Champaign, so U of I country, but I graduated this past May from Mizzou. With Sporting, I've obviously kind of been a watcher of Sporting for a while for most of my college experience. I started covering them for a little bit for the Columbia Missourian for a couple months before I came here. And then for now, I'm helping out Shaun on the beat. And so it's been really, really fun. Like Cora, I'm a soccer fan. I love watching the game. I love deep diving in about the game and strategies and players, stories, all of that. And I had a blast last night at Sporting's win. And I'm hoping that there's more good experiences like that for the rest of the summer.
How did it develop that you covered Sporting while you were in Columbia? Did they have a Royals and a Chiefs beat too? Or why would they have somebody who focuses in on soccer?
I was a assistant sports editor at the Missourian as well, and we just happened to write a brief on Johnny Russell being named captain for the beginning of the season. And then Sporting's spokesperson saw the article and reached out to me. He's saying hey, anytime you want to come to a Sporting match, we'll credential you as part of the Missourian and feel free to come. And so that was a kind gesture by him. I ended up going to the next match. I think it was against Austin, the first Austin match. From there, I kind of hit the ground running on that. And then now it's just kind of seamlessly transitioned to doing it now for the Star. So that was a nice way to get my feet wet early.
Well, how smart is that on Sporting's part to reach out to you and understand that they're developing their audience? And let's look at mid-Missouri. Let's look at people who are consumers of the product, which would be younger people. Sporting, of course, has been in Kansas City for a quarter century, right? Their 25th year, counting Wizards Sporting. And since they've moved to Children's Mercy Park and changed their identity, I believe that was 2011, they have been on the forefront of, first of all, technology. They were the first team around here, professional or college, to make sure that everybody's cell phone worked in the stadium. That sounds goofy now, but think about that 10 years ago, just to make sure you could access your email at a game.
KU's Memorial Stadium. Every
Right.
time I'm in there, game over.
Right.
I'm disconnected from the world.
Speaking of KU, they had to bring in a truck for power. They'd have people leave the game because they couldn't access their cell phone. So, yeah, Sporting Kansas City, they're just smart about their reach outs. Always have been. Let's start with the action yesterday. Sporting Kansas City beat Colorado Rapids 3-1. I did not get to watch the first half. I had something else going on. So I missed Daniel Salloi's 2 goals in the first half, but I caught his assist. So he's involved with every one of the goals yesterday. Shaun, you haven't seen every game the guy's ever played, but I can't imagine statistically he's ever had a better game than that.
Statistically now, I mean, 2 goals and assists, 3 goal contributions, and even just his play as a whole, you look at his 2018 season when he had 11 goals, 7 assists. That's across the whole season, right?
Right.
At this point, he's already up to 6 goals and 3 assists, and he's on pace to shatter that record. It's good to see him back what he's doing, and he has his little outburst last night saying he doesn't want to talk about last season or 2019.
Yeah, he gave Briar the Heisman.
Gave Briar, I know. I mean, fair play to him, and he's clearly showing that he's past it, but just on that note, confidence is there, and that's why I asked him, can you feel there's something different? Because I don't think the Daniel Salloi of 2018, 2019, that second goal he took, little 1-2 edge of the box was a quick touch, and the shot into the near post. Get Daniel Salloi of 19 and 20 might have tried to take it, wasn't going to score it. But yeah, you can tell there's something different there, and he's proven a lot of haters wrong. As long as he keeps firing the way he is, it's a positive surprise for Sporting KC. Keep on going, Daniel. We'll see where it goes.
He's really in his zone.
Yeah.
He's totally in his zone. We talk about that with baseball players, with hitters, right? Anything, it looks like, a beach ball when it comes, from a pitcher. But he is, it's like anything he touches. He just feels like he can do something with it.
Yeah.
So what was the nature of the story yesterday, Briar, about with Daniel?
So in the press conference, Peter Vermees, I asked him a question about in the past 2 seasons after his really, really good 2018 season, 2019 and 2020 combined for 1 goal and 1 assist in 35 matches. But now, obviously, he's having a career resurgence right now. And so I asked Peter, throughout the past 2 years of getting it up to speed and having him stay mentally in the game and trying to help him perform at the level he knows he can. And he gave a really good answer about staying in belief with Daniel and just always having his back. So I asked Daniel some form of it, and firmly but fairly, he was very much let's not talk about the past anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's a clean slate. It's 2021. Let's focus on that. And honestly, I can't blame him. I mean, he's right now, like Shaun said, 6 goals, 3 assists. Last time I checked, he was second in the MLS Golden Boot race behind Javier Hernandez of LA Galaxy and Raul Ruidiaz of Seattle Sounders, which is something we all predicted at the beginning of the beginning of the season. So give credit where credit's due. I mean, Salloi's playing excellent, and maybe it's not fair to try to connect it to that past because he's here now and he's playing and he's on fire at the moment.
Yeah, and it's not just the goals. If you look at, we talk about goal contributions in soccer now. In the last couple of years, goal contributions because people aren't counting assists. And again, might have changed with other games, but I believe he's in third place right now for goal contributions at 9, only beating out by New England's Carlos Gill. He has 10 assists and a goal or 2, I think. He's on fire as a playmaker. And then I think Chicharito with his 7 goals and assists or 2. So he's really up there, and I just want to say, Daniel, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry we're talking about the past. We'll go on to the future now. We're moving forward. So
this has to do with the past, but I think in a good way, because Briar, you wrote the story about the connection of his homeland, Hungarian players, and the connection with them with Sporting Kansas City. I thought it was an interesting story, and of course, Peter Vermees is the obvious connection, but it's a connection that has worked so well for Sporting over the years. And take us through that story.
I wanted to do a feature when I came here about Peter Vermeer's connection to his ancestral homeland of Hungary. I mean, his parents fled during the Hungarian Revolution in the 50s, but his dad was a footballer in the Hungarian First Division. And then when Peter grew up and became a player himself, he spent some time playing in Hungary. And then when he was a youth, eventually his parents, after things calmed down, they made yearly visits back to Hungary. While Peter was there, he would train with Budapest Honvéd, which was one of the top clubs in Hungary and was his father's former club. And so he trained with the youth academy there, and he would learn his game. But then when Peter became a manager, he wanted to utilize all the connections he had possible. And one of the things was like at the time when Peter became manager, a little over a decade or so ago, MLS at the time, they had a couple Hungarian players just like in and out, but like there wasn't someone who really like utilized their connections in the country and brought players over. And then a decade later, now Peter has brought along players who played really well, most notably Daniel Salloi and then Christian Nemeth. Those two have especially been really, really good contributors for Sporting. And then now there's been several players in MLS on other clubs who have like come from Hungary. Peter put it as like he sees MLS as a copycat league, where he sees if someone's doing something well, then another team's going to try to emulate it. When you look at the history of it, like for example, Chicago Fire had a striker by the name of Nemanja Nikolic, who in 2017, 2018 won the Golden Boot with 24 goals. He's Hungarian. And then Philadelphia Union just signed a player by the name of Daniel Gazdag. Is a midfielder who just played for Hungary in the Euros. So Peter wasn't the first to bring players from Hungary to the MLS, but he was definitely the one to popularize it. And I thought that connection was interesting, and then of how he still keeps those ties and then utilizes it in his managerial career.
So it's not the immediate past we're talking about, Daniel Salloi. It's the distant past. And speaking of that, we were talking about this before we hit the record button, that Sporting ended the game on Wednesday night with 6 homegrown players on the field, including Salloi. So what's the significance of that, Shaun?
Well, Peter's always says it. At first, it's not like a pipe dream, but it might not anymore. But he's always says that he wants to have a game with 11 homegrown players on the field, or 11 academy products at least. So we hit 6 last night. Give it a couple more years. I think that speaks what Sporting's doing, to be honest. I feel like any time we talk about a youth player, you hear a pro player pathway. I feel like Peter and me's pro player pathway, you can't go a week without hearing them together. It's clearly showing dividends, right? So yeah, last night, you've got Jalen Lindsay, Salloi, Uzio, Hernandez, Carve Rad, and who am I missing? But just talking about the significance with it, you can make a successful MLS team from within. You don't have to be looking outside the country. Especially a big part nowadays is Peter and me. We were talking about Uzio.
The one we were forgetting was Cam Duke.
Cam Duke.
Yep.
He used to play for his dad as well. Sorry, Chris, if he's listening too. Peter and me, we were talking about Uzio going to Europe only last week. He was talking about that. Of course, if you can create great players and keep them here, it's great. But one of the phases of MLS now is developing players in the youth academy and sending them off to Europe to play for these huge teams. And we talked about this a week or two ago, Blair, Brandon Aronson.
We did.
All those type of players. And that's kind of what Sporting's getting to the point at where, Buzio's looking to be the first big one from Sporting, but I'm sure he won't be the last as we keep pumping out players. And Felipe Hernandez, one of those, got his first goal last night. He's 23, which I think people forget because he's just having a breakthrough now. Another great player who I think is going to start playing a big role, especially this season. His legs get tired, injuries happen. He's a young guy with plenty of passion, plenty of legs. So, yeah, good for him.
Yep. Hey, and Cam Duke, local product. Adding insult to injury, forgetting about Cam Duke.
That's what I'm saying. I played soccer for his dad.
All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll go across the parking lot because it was a soccer doubleheader in Kansas City yesterday. Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of KansasCity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit KansasCity.com/SportsBeat KC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. Okay, we're back on SportsBeat KC. We're talking soccer with Cora Hall, Briar Napier, and Shaun Goodwin. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Sporting wins 3-1 last night over the Colorado Rapids. Earlier in the day, like Children's Mercy Park, Legends Field has had different names. In fact, it was Community America Ballpark when the Wizards and Sporting played there way back in the day. Mm-hmm. But anyway, in that Legends Field, KC NWSL, oh my gosh, they scored a goal. They scored the game's first goal in extra time in the ninth minute of extra time in the first half. Yeah. And I was so pumped. And the first goal of the regular season, it was by Marianna Larroquette. How many seconds later did Orlando?
2 minutes later.
Yeah, it was a minute or two.
Yeah, it was the first home goal of the regular season. But yeah, so it was literally on the verge. It was 11 minutes of stoppage time. 45 plus 11.
Yeah. So what was the sense, or what was the feeling, Cora, in the stadium when they got the goal?
It was pretty much elation from the fans. There was over 4,000 people there in the afternoon on a Wednesday.
1 o'clock kick, right?
Yeah, it was a really good atmosphere. The KC NWSL fans are pretty serious about coming to games and supporting this team the first season. And they, had also thought that they had a goal earlier in the game. 9 minutes in, A-Rod found the back of the net, but she got called offside. It was a really nice play, and it was kind of nice to see that almost goal was a result of them really pushing the pace, creating a lot of opportunities in that first half. And then in stoppage, which, we sat there for an extra 11 minutes in the first half, it was kind of unheard of at that point.
Was that a water break thing, or was that hydration break part of it? Or how did they get 11? I've never seen that many additional minutes.
Hydration always adds another 2 or 3 minutes, which has been a little bit annoying, but it was injuries.
Okay.
One of Orlando's players got injured. She was down for about 5 minutes or so. And then just go 3 minutes accumulated elsewhere, and out comes 11, which is the most I've seen out of the old school Manchester United Fergie time. Back when the referee agreed 6 minutes for Man United, and then Man U scoring a 10th minute of stoppage time or something stupid. So yeah, it's the longest I've seen.
But then they score the goal, and it's really a lovely thing. And gosh, they score finally after not scoring for weeks, and they take a lead after not having a lead. Well, until they've having a lead all year, have they? Even in
they did. They were beating Houston 1-0.
Right, that's right.
Yeah,
and then they fell down 2-1. It ended up drawing, right?
Yeah,
the
90th minute equaliser.
Right.
That was their first goal in a month exactly. Yesterday, first goal in a month. Okay,
so then they give it up in the freaking 11th minute. Okay, they go into halftime 1-1. I'm thinking, let's get a point, maybe get a point. They're playing at home. There's a good crowd. It sounded good. I heard someone on the radio. And it just didn't happen for them in the second half.
When Sydney Leroux comes out and she scores that goal, she is in the 48th minute. There's not much any goalkeeper can do about that kind of shot. I mean, she starts out on the left, cooks inside, and if I remember correctly, it was curling away from Abby Smith as well, and just can't get fingers to it, far corner. You can't really blame her for that one. I don't even know if you can blame her for the Marta goal right at the end, because you expect a player to shoot from 40 yards out.
Right.
And it was kind of just a product of Sydney Leroux being Sydney Leroux. She beat a defender, was in between two defenders when she took that shot. She had the smallest window and just an excellent shot from right outside the box. There was nothing you could really do about that. And then, the Marta goal was just two great players being two great players that no one expects that kind of moonshot to come just randomly in the 85th minute.
Exactly.
So, other than that, Abby Smith had a really, really good game, and she's really come out strong back from injury, and honestly, I think has been a really key part of Kansas City staying in these games. And, they're really hanging with all these teams in a really, really talented league. So, I think once they start pushing the pace like they did yesterday, creating those opportunities, the wins will come. But as of right now, The second half, the same offensive effort wasn't really there, because I felt like the first half they were really getting up the field. They had a lot of free kicks, and what was kind of nice about those was they were creating second chances off of those, which is before they weren't always doing that. They were getting beat in the box, they weren't getting heads on the ball. But yesterday it felt like they were creating second chances and getting second shots off that, which I think really led to that offensive momentum that it kind of felt like they had.
Well, speaking of Abby Smith, first of all, are you guys letting her off the hook for yesterday for the most part?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day,
I mean, you can. You saw the goal, so.
Well, and the first goal
it's a deflection.
The first goal was hard because it was
an own
deflection.
goal. It ended up. Wasn't it?
Of course he tried to stop it.
It went off a teal sock, I believe.
Yeah, of course he tried to stop it, and so of course he was pretty close to the goal at that point. So Abby Smith was already got her momentum going one way to try to stop that shot, and then it went back the other way and kind of slid past her. So that was a tough shot to swallow, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it says something that we're talking so much about Abby Smith, and it's tough to, when you talk about a team that's now lost 5 straight, they haven't won a game in 11 tries now. And it's weird to be talking about the goalkeeper being one of the best, most consistent players on the team. And obviously she was injured for a little bit, Nicole Barnhock started the regular season. But I think, again, if it wasn't for Abby Smith, we talk about how KC's kept games close. It could be a lot worse if it wasn't for Abby Smith.
Yeah, the reason I bring her up is I did watch Sunday's game, and she stopped a penalty kick. That was phenomenal. When somebody stops a penalty kick.
Sinclair, of all people,
yes.
too. Yeah.
And she was phenomenal in the first half of that game, and Portland gets a goal right in stoppage. If it wasn't stoppage time, it was at the first half. Yeah, and I was thinking, boy, what a shame, because it was just terrific, and she was terrific throughout the game. They ended up losing 1-0, right?
And again, I hate to keep saying that the team was unlucky in the sense that you can't count on the luck in a game, especially a game of fine margins. We talked about like a previous Orlando game where the ball didn't really go over the line. There's been other instances, and with that goal against Portland, it's on a regular field because the ball's coming over the top, and regular field got bounces through to Abby Smith. She can head it clear, kick it clear, and then it's half time. You go in 0-0, and because of the turf, it hits the turf and just bounces up. As a player, you kind of have to be conscious of that, and she did take blame for it. She's like, I shouldn't know in that, but again, it's just things that don't usually happen, things that shouldn't be happening, and here we are now with 5 straight losses, and outside of the Orlando one being 3-1, most of them have been 1-0 losses, tight margins.
Well, and we're talking about this, and I'm sure they definitely are too, because in the press conference, Hugh Williams, he even almost said that outright. He was like, you can say we've had unlucky things happen. You can say, whatever, that's been just kind of unfortunate, but I'm not a guy to rely on that, and we still need to take care of business. So, but I think it's also important to note that their last 2 games were against Orlando and Portland, which are by far 2 of the best teams in the league. And now we got Washington on Saturday. And it's just, I think it's a kind of a testament to this team that, they moved here in 4 months in the off season. And even though they have not won a game, they are really playing with some of the best teams in the league. They're not getting crushed. They're not, getting destroyed through the midfield. Yesterday, I thought the midfield was really strong. Lola Banta being back was a huge, huge plus for that. So yeah, I think once they can create some more consistency in that lineup, like only 5 players have played all games of the season. So once they get more consistency through that lineup, I think they'll see some more success. But I don't think it's maybe fair to just look at the results when you're looking at this team.
I mean, you talk about the midfield, Cora, and later, I guess tomorrow, I'm going to be talking to Hugh and writing about the midfield, because yesterday was honestly the first game where they've come out in the first half, and when I say first time in a while, maybe Louisville, but they've come out on the front foot in the first half, because I think we've been so used to the 2 defensive midfielders with Desiree Scott and Gabby Vincent, both excellent players, but if you play 2 defensive mids in a 3 midfield system, you're going to usually be overrun, and that's what we've seen most games. They fall behind, either it might be a good goal, might be an unlucky circumstance, and at that point you're chasing the game, and then you see in the last 20-25 minutes, like, oh, this team can attack, wow, but you want to be doing that from the first minute, right? And it's unfortunate that, they played, but they start with, 2 attacking midfielders, and all of a sudden, you're an attacking team. It's unfortunate that it's to do with fitness and load management, but the game that they finally decide to do that, it's against the undefeated best team in the league. And like we were saying, Washington's up next, who's played really well. But, I think this is honestly the toughest stretch they'll play all season. And I was chatting to Hugh and Amy, talked about it last week, and it's got to be daunting, right? So you look at a Premier League, La Liga, or even the Women's Super League out in England, the French Women's League. There's more teams. You've got good teams, you've got bad teams, you've got middle teams. Sometimes you may play one of the lesser teams. It's a little bit of a break. When you're playing the best league in the world with the best players, and there's only 10 teams, so all those players.
Right. Concentrated.
It's concentrated, yeah. I forgot what Sportsman player it was. It might have been Mo Johnston. He was saying back in his playing days, it was kind of the same for MLS, and there was so little teams that every game just seemed like a tough game because you never really get a break. So it's got to be tough for them. But this is the toughest stretch. 3 best teams, really, 8 days. So it should start calming down soon. And it's year 1, and some fans may be looking at Louisville. Like, they've won 2 games now. They won. I forgot who they beat earlier in the season. They beat Houston just this past week. And you're like, why is Kansas City not won? And the other expansion team, Louisville's doing well. They've had a lot longer to prepare. And, the big thing is, I'm not going to say this is a free pass kind of year for Kansas City. But again, they came in 4 months before the season started, and we've had to do everything from coaching appointments, preparing players, coaching, everything. It's tough to put together they put together a really nice product on its face, but even the play on the field, I think you get through this year, don't make anything rash, with the coaching staff, and I think the NWSL is a little bit more patient. So, let Hugh Williams get through this year, let his coaching staff get through this year, have an off season to prepare, get more players in, and I think season number 2 is the point where you say, are we good? If things aren't working, where do we go from here?
Yeah, don't become the Kansas football of the NWSL.
Yeah.
Another point to that is that they've had, I think, 13 new players on this roster this year in a very short offseason.
Exactly.
And some of the trades came right before the Challenge Cup. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a baptism by fire with this team. Like, there's no offseason training to get that chemistry going. It was literally, here's an entirely new lineup in team, starters, everything, and we're going to go right into the Challenge Cup. Yeah. So, what you've seen, you have to kind of put that context in. Like, I think the point they're at now is actually farther than you would have reasonably expected, given the way they started this season with that roster change.
I think if they had a win or 2 in 11 games, this would be a completely different story, and they could still be bottom of the league. But people are like, get a new team, but they've had a win or 2, get only blemish, which 11 games is a long run. And I don't know the exact number, but if you go back to the Utah days, which, it's same Cora players, it's now up to a 19 or 20 winless streak because Utah finished pretty, they weren't winning either.
I think the last win that Utah had was like July of last year.
Yeah, so we're approaching a year for a lot of these players.
Right. So, I mean, and I don't know, I've been looking at like the players traveling from Kansas City to Utah and back. So there's like 5 or 6 who were in Kansas City the first time, and then they go to Utah, new team. Now there's like, I think 13, 15 players from that Utah team back here. So it's just been a lot of change, a lot of turnover, which is the nature of sometimes this league. But when you have basically a few super teams within the league who've got all these you've got these, U.S. women's national players that just dominate every field they walk on. It's definitely a perfect storm for what we have here.
One of those players is not Becky Sauerbrunn, though, right? She was in Kansas City, went to Utah, and did not come here.
Yeah, no. Oh, I was so ready in that Portland game where she had the volley from a penalty spot. I was like, go on, Becky. I know it was against Kansas City, but I was like, if Becky comes up and scores a volley, but it went over the bar.
I think everyone wants Becky to score a goal just once.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to have conversations like this every week. I hope we can get together and talk soccer with you guys. And we got a little long today, so next week, and we can think about this. Briar, you wrote a story this week that I thought was really interesting, and there was absolutely an NWSL component to it, and that's developmental league. We will make that a focus of next week's show.
Yeah, 2 things. I'll be quick, I promise.
Okay.
Firstly, Jimmy Nielsen, congratulations to him.
Absolutely.
We didn't talk about that, but sporting legends. And then secondly, I just want to hype up Briar and Cora. It's been great having them these first couple of weeks, and like we were saying, 2 soccer-loving people, and you'll know it's a bit better than me, Blair. Outside of, I guess, my intern summer back in 2018, have we had many soccer-interested interns down the years?
No. I can't. I really can't think of one off the top of my head. What we had though were sports writers who covered soccer, who grew into the beat, and by the time they left the beat, loved dealing with the team, the sport, and with Peter Vermees, because everybody deals with Peter Vermees, right?
Everyone deals with Peter Vermees.
At some point. I'm thinking of Therese Paylor and Sam McDowell and people like that. They absolutely loved covering Sporting Kansas City. Todd Palmer, part of that as well. All right, very last thing before we go. We are in the knockout stage of the Euros. I want a winner.
Football's coming home.
Yeah, I want to.
No, it's not.
It says the England supporter.
I want a winner from each of you. We know where Shaun's going. Briar, let's start with you.
Belgium.
I wasn't ready for this.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I have an opinion. I don't want to make an uneducated take here. I've only watched a few of the games, the knockouts. I'm gonna be honest.
France. I heard it. No.
I mean, I'll root for France. That's fine with me.
Okay.
Well, hey, if anyone wants to come have a couple of beers with me Tuesday, 11 a.m, if I'm not working, at the Dubliner, we'll be watching England-Germany. And all the games after that until we win it, of course.
You should especially go if you're rooting for Germany.
Oh, you might get beat up.
How about England drawing Germany, though? What a tough quarterfinal.
I was complaining about this with Briar last night as well. Because, again, I don't want to get into the details, but with the whole there's 4 third-place teams to go through. Most of the first-place teams play a third-place team, apart from 2. England is one of those unlucky ones. And then not only that, but the second-place team they play is from the group of death. When it was Portugal, Germany, or France.
Right.
And we get Germany, so I'm like, come on, man. But if we beat Germany, we've got, honestly, a much easier road to the final. So I think Germany might be our hardest game till the final.
So it would be a very England thing to beat Germany and then
lose to Ukraine.
That's right.
I know.
All right. By the way, Briar's right. Belgium is going to win Euro this year. All right.
Yeah.
Cora, Briar, Shaun, great conversation. Let's do it again next week.
Let's do it.
Another week in the books for SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. Thanks for listening, and thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, Chris Pickett, and Savannah Smith. Tip of the cap to Shaun Goodwin, Cora Hall, and Briar Napier for stopping by and talking soccer. Links to their stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, we got another deal for you. You can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. Sports Pass is the online version of the Star Sports section. You get all the stories that appear in the print editions of the Star, plus additional stories that appear only on the website, and they appear first on kansascity.com. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. And it's a great time to subscribe. Read about what's going on with the Chiefs, the Royals, the colleges, our soccer teams, and more. How do you get it? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That's kansascity.com/sportspass2020. You want more than just sports coverage? Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional national news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com. kansascity.com/subscribe. And if you're having trouble hunting down any of those offers, send me an email, bkirkhoff@kcstar.com, and we'll get you to the right place. So whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Monday with another episode.